King Thrushbeard. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, there lived a young princess who was beautiful but terribly proud. Every prince who came to ask for her hand, she mocked and laughed at. "This one is too tall," she said. "That one is too short." Another she called too serious, and yet another too cheerful. At last a good and noble king came to visit. He was handsome and kind, but his beard curved slightly at the end, like the beak of a bird. The princess giggled cruelly and said, "Ha ha! His beard looks like a thrush's beak. We shall call him King Thrushbeard." The court laughed with her, but her father, the old king, was ashamed. "My daughter," he said sternly, "you have mocked every man who sought to love you. One day you will regret your pride." She only smiled. "I shall never marry such foolish men, father." But the king was deeply hurt by her arrogance. He swore that she must learn humility, even if it meant marrying a beggar. The beggar's song. Not long after, a poor minstrel came to the castle, singing sweetly in the courtyard. His song was filled with sorrow and hope. When he finished, he asked for a gift from the princess's hand. The king stood and said, "You shall have her hand in marriage." The princess gasped, "Father, you cannot mean it." But the king nodded. "I do. You have mocked princes and kings. Now you shall marry this man and learn what true worth is." And so that very day she was wed to the poor minstrel. Without a crown or jewels, she left the palace she once ruled. The hard life. The minstrel led her far away from her home. They crossed rivers and mountains until they reached a small, broken cottage. "This is our home," he said. The princess looked around in disbelief. "Where are the servants, the tapestries, the golden dishes?" Her husband smiled sadly. "You must now do all things yourself. Fetch water, cook, clean, and be content." She tried to work, but her hands were soft and unused to labor. When she cooked, she burned the food. When she spun thread, it tangled into knots. To earn money, she tried to play the lute and sing in the streets, but people laughed and threw coins only to mock her. Then she tried selling pottery, but the pots broke one by one. At last, the minstrel sighed. "Perhaps you can find work in the king's castle, sweeping floors or washing dishes." The palace servant. She went to the royal palace and begged for work. The cooks took pity on her and let her clean the kitchen. Every day she scrubbed floors and washed heavy pots until her back ached. Through the high windows she could see the grand hall shining with light. Musicians played, lords and ladies danced, and she thought, "That was once my world." One night she was asked to carry food into the hall. Trembling, she entered, and her eyes widened. For sitting at the head of the table was none other than King Thrushbeard, the man she had once mocked. Her heart pounded. "Oh, what have I done?" she whispered. The king looked at her but said nothing. Instead, he smiled kindly, as if he knew something she did not. The truth revealed. The next evening there was a great feast again. She was told to serve wine to the guests. As she walked across the hall, her hands shook and a golden goblet slipped, spilling wine at the king's feet. She fell to her knees. "Please forgive me, your majesty. I'm only a poor woman." The king rose and took her hand. "Do you not recognize me?" She looked up and gasped. The ragged minstrel she had married was gone. Before her stood King Thrushbeard himself, dressed in royal robes, his eyes gentle. "I am the minstrel," he said softly. "I disguised myself to teach you a lesson. I wanted you to learn that pride and cruelty bring only sorrow." Tears filled her eyes. "My lord, I was foolish and cruel. I do not deserve your forgiveness." King Thrushbeard smiled. "You have learned what I hoped you would. I forgive you with all my heart." the happy ending. The hall filled with music once more. The guests cheered as the king lifted the princess up and placed a golden crown upon her head. "Now," he said, "you shall be my queen, not for your beauty, but for your humility." From that day forward, the princess was kind to everyone, rich or poor. She never mocked anyone again and ruled beside King Thrushbeard with wisdom and love. Their marriage was happy, their hearts full of gratitude, and their story was told throughout the land as a lesson in humility. Moral: pride may bring laughter for a moment, but humility brings happiness for a lifetime. Ending line for your video. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to watch more stories on our channel. Dich vu voi hin an song jong.